Greetings. This is Brother Eli with another episode of Bible Truth Revealed. Today's teaching is entitled, Who are the Descendants of Japheth? That is, who are the descendants of Japheth? Many people have been deceived into believing that so-called white people are the descendants of Japheth, the son of Noah. This couldn't be further from the truth. In this teaching, I will examine the Holy Scriptures to reveal the true identity of the descendants of Japheth. In doing so, I will address the following points. 1. Man originated from the area that is now known as Africa and the Middle East. 2. The descendants of Ham, Shem, and Japheth were scattered all over the earth. 3. The earth was divided, and this further separated people groups. And 4. Japheth's descendants inhabited the isles of the Gentiles. Point 1. Man originated from the area that is now known as Africa and the Middle East. I will be reading from the Brenton Septuagint translation. Genesis chapter 2, verses 8 to 15. Genesis chapter 2, verses 8 to 15 reads thus. And God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and placed there the man whom he had formed. And God made to spring up also out of the earth every tree beautiful to the eye and good for food, and the tree of life in the midst of the garden, and the tree of learning the knowledge of good and evil. And a river proceeds out of Eden to water the garden. Thence it divides itself into 4 heads. The name of the one, Phism, this it is which encircles the whole land of Evilat, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good. There also is carbuncle and emerald. And the name of the second river is Gihon. This it is which encircles the whole land of Ethiopia. The whole land of Ethiopia. Ethiopia is well known. So it's very clear where this happened. It took place on the continent where we can find the land called Ethiopia. And the third river is Tigris. This is that which flows forth over against the Assyrians. And the fourth river is Euphrates. This is also a very popular river, the Euphrates. And the Lord God took the man whom he had formed and placed him in the garden of delight to cultivate and keep it. If you don't know where Ethiopia, Tigris, and the Euphrates River are located, take a moment, have a look, and you will discover that they are in the area that is now known as Africa and the Middle East. That is where man originated. Point number 2. The descendants of Ham, Shem, and Japheth were scattered all over the earth. Genesis chapter 9, verses 18 to 19. Genesis chapter 9, verses 18 to 19 says, Now the sons of Noah, which came out of the ark, were Shem, Ham, Japheth, and Ham was father of Canaan. These 3 are the sons of Noah. Of these were men scattered over all the earth. So the descendants of Ham, Shem, and Japheth were scattered all over the earth. Only Noah and his family survived the great flood. He and his family were people of color, because the Most High only made people of color. That means that the people who were scattered all over the earth were people of color. Point number 3. The earth was divided, And this further separated the people. We'll find that in Genesis chapter 10, verse 25. Genesis chapter 10, verse 25 says, "And to Heber were born 2 sons. The name of the one, Phaleg, because in his days the earth was divided. The earth was divided. The earth was divided. And the name of his brother, Jecton. Before the time of Phaleg, the earth was one land mass. This is one reason it was easy for the entire earth to be flooded. Also, the fact that the verse says that the earth was divided means that before that division, the earth was one land mass. If you closely examine a map of the earth, you can see that all the land was once connected. The continents, countries, and islands fit together like the pieces of a puzzle. We will soon discover that when the earth was divided, Japheth inhabited the isles of the Gentiles. This does not mean that there were no Hamites or Shemites in those lands, only that most of the inhabitants of those lands were the descendants of Japheth. On the other hand, most of those who remained in the area now known as Africa and the Middle East were the descendants of Ham and Shem. This is why most of what is recorded in the Holy Scriptures is about the descendants of Ham, such as the Canaanites, Hittites, and Philistines, and the descendants of Shem, such as the Ishmaelites, Edomites, Moabites, Ammonites, and the Israelites. Very little is said about the descendants of Japheth because most of them were not in the biblical lands. Point number 4. Japheth's descendants inhabited the isles of the Gentiles. Genesis chapter 10, verses 2 to 5. Genesis chapter 10, verses 2 to 5 says, "The sons of Japheth, Gema, and Magog, and Madoi, and Jovan, and Elisa, and Thobel, and Mosok, and Thiras. And the sons of Gema, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Thogama. And the sons of Jovan, Elisa, and Tarthis, Thicians, Rhodians. From these were the islands of the Gentiles divided in their land, each according to his tongue, in their tribes, and in their nations." So it's very clear that the sons or descendants of Japheth inhabited the islands of the Gentiles. We can learn more about this in Isaiah chapter 66, verse 19. Isaiah chapter 66, verse 19 says, "And I will leave a sign upon them, and I will send forth them that have escaped of them to the nations, to Tarsis, and Phud, and Lud, and Mosok, and to Thobel, and to Greece, and to the isles afar off, to those who have not heard my name, nor seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles." By comparing this verse with Genesis chapter 10, verses 2 to 5, we can see that the prophet Isaiah is speaking about the descendants of Japheth. How is that? Look at both carefully, and you'll see they both mention Tarsis. They both mention Thobel. Genesis 10, verse 2 mentions Jovan. Isaiah 66:19 mentions Greece. Jovan is Greece. It's a reference to the Greeks. Many Bible versions translate this in Isaiah 66:19 as Jovan, but the Septuagint tells us it is Greece, and we'll learn more about that shortly. Then it speaks about the isles of the Gentiles. Those are the isles afar off, who have not heard the name of the Most High. So Genesis chapter 10, verses 2 to 5, is speaking about the same people mentioned in Isaiah chapter 66, verse 19. We are talking about the sons of Japheth. In Barnes' notes on the Bible, under Tarshish, this is what it says. Tarshish, named after one of the sons of Javan. So we see that Japheth had a son called Javan or Jovan, and we see that both Genesis chapter 10 and Isaiah chapter 66 mention Tarsis, or Tarshish. It's exactly the same. So again, Tarshish, named after one of the sons of Javan, Genesis chapter 10, verse 4, was an ancient merchant city of Spain. So Tarshish was a city of Spain, that's in Europe, once proverbial for its wealth, which supplied Judea with silver, Tyre with all manners of riches, with iron also, tin and lead. Jonah chapter 1 verses 1 to 3 tells us about Tarshish in the Bible. Yet again, it says, Now the word of the Lord came to Jonas the son of Amittai, saying, Rise and go to Nineveh, the great city, and preach in it, for the cry of its wickedness is come up to me. But Jonas rose up to flee to Tarsis. This is the same place, the merchant city of Spain, from the presence of the Lord. And he went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarsis. And he paid his fare and went up into it to sail with them to Tarsis from the presence of the Lord. So there we go. Tarsis, which is a merchant city of Spain, is where some of the descendants of Japheth were in Europe. Let's move on to Javan. The Jamieson Fawcett Brown Bible Commentary under Javan says, the Greeks called Ionians, including all the descendants of Javan, both in Greece and in Asia Minor. Genesis chapter 10 verses 2 to 4. This is the reason why in Isaiah chapter 66 verse 19, instead of saying Javan, the Septuagint says Greece, because Javan is Greece. The descendants of Javan settled in Greece and in Asia Minor. So now that we know that Javan is the Greeks, let's look at an example of where they are mentioned in the Holy Scriptures. Daniel chapter 11 verse 2. Daniel chapter 11 verse 2 says, And now I will tell thee the truth. Behold, there shall yet rise up 3 kings in Persia, and the 4th shall be very far richer than all, and after that he is master of his wealth. He shall rise up against all the kingdoms of the Greeks. So we've read about Spain, we've read about Greece. When the so-called white man hears that the descendants of Japheth inherited places such as Spain and Greece, he tends to get excited because he thinks that the scriptures are talking about him. However, this has nothing to do with the so-called white man. The children of Japheth, just like the children of Ham and Shem, are people of color. In fact, before the arrival of the so-called white man, also known as the children of Lucifer, there were only people of color on the earth. For a thorough understanding of how the so-called white man destroyed the original inhabitants of Europe and forcefully assumed their identity, please listen to my teaching entitled, The Truth About the Children of Lucifer. That is the truth about the children of Lucifer. Now let's get the understanding of the latter part of Isaiah chapter 66, verse 19. It says, "And to the isles afar off, to those who have not heard my name, nor seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles." These are the descendants of Japheth. We have seen that the descendants of Japheth inhabited places such as Greece and Spain. These were among the nations that already had knowledge of the Israelites and the Most High God. They heard about the greatness of King Solomon and how the Most High blessed him with wisdom and wealth above all the kings of the earth. Let's read about that in 3 Kings chapter 10, verses 23 to 25. 3 Kings chapter 10 in the Brenton Septuagint translation is 1 Kings chapter 10 in the KJV. I'm reading 3 Kings chapter 10 verses 23 to 25. And it reads thus: "And Solomon increased beyond all the kings of the earth in wealth and wisdom, and all the kings of the earth sought the presence of Solomon to hear his wisdom, which the Lord had put into his heart. And they brought every one their gifts, vessels of gold, and raiment, and stacked, and spices, and horses, and mules, arrayed year by year." All the known world heard about the name of the Most High, the God of Israel, because they heard about King Solomon and the God that blessed him tremendously. Also, I demonstrated earlier that Tarshish is a city in Spain and that Jovan is Greece. These places had communication with the Israelites, so they knew about the Most High. This means that when Isaiah chapter 66 verse 19 says, "And," which means in addition to Spain and Greece and all these other places in Europe and Asia Minor, "and to the isles afar off, to those who have not heard my name," it's talking about other places. It's not talking about Europe, and it's not talking about Asia Minor. The places that did not hear about the Most High God had to be so far away that they just could not. They were not considered biblical lands. We can discover what these places were in the Gill's exposition of the entire Bible. It says, "And the isles afar off, even as far as the West Indies." As far as the West Indies. What places and countries are exactly and precisely meant cannot be determined. However, we know it's as far as the West Indies. The West Indies are not biblical lands. They were so far away that they did not hear about the Most High God. They did not see his glory. In the Encyclopedia Britannica, under the heading West Indies, this is what it says: 3 major physiographic divisions constitute the West Indies. The Greater Antilles, comprising the islands of Cuba, Jamaica, Hispaniola, which is made up of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico. The Lesser Antilles, including the Virgin Islands, Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados and Grenada, and the isolated island groups of the North American continental shelf. So you can find descendants of Japheth in America, the Bahamas, and the Turks and Caicos Islands, and those of the South American shelf. So not only in North America, but also in South America, you can find the descendants of Japheth, including Trinidad and Tobago, Aruba, Curacao, and Borneo. The isles afar off, who had not heard the name of the Most High, nor seen his glory, must be people who were not in the known world when the scriptures were written. The known world included the places now known as Africa and the Middle East, Europe, Asia Minor, all those places in the East. So the places that were not known are the places that were divided toward the Western Hemisphere. To be clear, the words the isles afar off or the isles of the Gentiles are not referring to people in Africa, Asia, or Europe. It is referring to the sons of Japheth living in the Americas, or as Gill's exposition of the entire Bible explicitly states, as far as the West Indies. These are the indigenous people of the Americas, such as the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Arawak or Taino Indians, and the Seminole Indians. The sons of Japheth in the Americas are also known as Amerind, Amerindian, Indian, Indigenous American, Native American, and Aboriginal American. In the Encyclopedia Britannica, under the heading Native American, Indigenous Peoples of Canada and United States, it says this: Native American, member of any of the aboriginal peoples of the Western Hemisphere. That does not include the biblical lands, although the term often connotes only those groups whose original territories were in present-day Canada and the United States. So we just heard the word indigenous and the word aboriginal. Let's find out what they mean. In the Merriam-Webster dictionary, under indigenous, this is what it says: indigenous applies to that which is not only native, but which, as far as can be determined, has never been introduced or brought from elsewhere. This means that the indigenous people of the Americas were always in the Americas. They did not come from elsewhere. They've been there since Genesis. When the people were scattered and the land was divided, the descendants of Japheth inhabited the isles of the Gentiles. The isles are far off, and this is why in Isaiah chapter 66 it refers to them as those who had not heard the name of the Most High or seen his glory. They are originally from that land, indigenous to that land, but they were separated when the earth was divided. Aboriginal implies having no known others preceding in occupancy of a particular region. So this means that the native Indians were always in the Americas. They did not come from elsewhere, as the children of Lucifer would have you believe. By definition, the original inhabitants of the Americas were never introduced or brought from elsewhere. They were always on those lands. They are the inhabitants of the isles of the Gentiles. Now let us examine Noah's blessing for his son Japheth in Genesis chapter 9, verses 26 to 27. Genesis chapter 9, verses 26 to 27 says, "And he said, Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his bondservant. May God make room for Japheth, and let him dwell in the habitations of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. So what does that mean? May God make room for Japheth. In the Barnes notes on the Bible, under God shall enlarge Japheth, which is one translation of the same passage, it says this: there is in the original a play upon the word Japheth, which itself signifies enlargement. This enlargement is the most striking point in the history of Japheth, who is the progenitor of the inhabitants of Europe, Asia, and America. So this is saying exactly what we've just learned, that Japheth inhabited Europe, Asia, and America, as far as the West Indies. The indigenous people of the Americas and all the other genuine descendants of Japheth are welcome to dwell in the habitations of Shem. If they serve the Most High only and keep his commandments, they will be richly rewarded in the coming kingdom. For a better understanding of this fact, please listen to my teaching about the righteous stranger of Isaiah chapter 56. It is entitled, "The Children of Lucifer Are Not Included." That is, the children of Lucifer are not included. So-called white people are not descendants of Japheth, and they are not the Gentiles that the Holy Scriptures speak of. They are the children of Lucifer. If you wish to better understand this subject, please listen to my teaching entitled Gentiles and the Children of Lucifer. That is, Gentiles and the children of Lucifer. In conclusion, the descendants of Japheth, which are the indigenous inhabitants of Europe, Asia, and the Americas, were all people of color. Their lands, culture, and identity were stolen by the so-called white man in a desperate attempt to hide his own true identity. Nevertheless, the Holy Scriptures reveal the truth about the children of Lucifer and their impending destruction. Furthermore, if the true descendants of Japheth choose to serve the Most High only and keep his commandments, their faithfulness will be rewarded in the coming kingdom. And with that I say, Salam.